What is up, game changers and soul warriors? My name is Juniper Mystique. Welcome to my channel, Shining Light with JBM. This is one of my 3 channels. I have a main channel, Master Juniper Mystique, where I brought about the ascension, and you can check it all there, okay? Because that is who I am. I am the one who brought about the ascension. So I'm not just a psychic, I'm not just anything. I'm more than probably as easily understandable. How do I say that? There's a lot to me, okay? And there's a lot to everybody, so make sure that you take the time to get to understand. Check it out if you want to see me clear Mount Shasta, raise Atlantis, activate pyramids, and much, much more. It still continues to this day with doing work, so check that one out. But on this channel today, we are going to talk about the curious case of Natalia Grace Barnett. Make sure I say that right. Natalia Grace Barnett. She was born supposedly in 2003, September of 2003. Supposedly her mother gave her up for adoption in Ukraine, which honestly, if you watch her story, she still doesn't have an accent, and I always found that to be quite curious. So I asked Spirit about Natalia Grace, okay? I asked Spirit about her because there's so many people don't understand. Have you watched any of the shows? She has shows on Hulu and probably other places. ID has shows on her. You can actually hear the story many places over, and she's all over YouTube and the internet, okay? Natalia Grace Barnett was adopted to a family called the Barnetts, right? Let's see. Michael and Christine Barnett, okay? They were one of the last families to adopt her, other than the one she is at currently now, where she has been for the last 9 years, I guess. And so I want you to understand something about her, okay? There are a lot of things circulating, okay? Christine and Michael Barnett claim that she was not the age she was supposed to be when they got her. They literally legally had her age changed in the courts on her birth certificate from what was supposed to be, I think, 8 at the time to 22, okay? Now, there is truce where out of the Ukraine orphanage, they will change your age, right? They will muck it up. They will change it because they do a guesstimate sometimes of how old people are. And in that show, I did actually watch one of them, and I'm like, wow, it is quite strange because Natalia will give different stories. She doesn't have, like, you can tell there's something going on there, okay? And then when you listen to Michael and Christine's version, it is still very strange. All right. Now, I've watched different depictions. I've even watched, those people who do body language experts on here about her. And, they don't have any clue. They came out with, they don't know. They still don't understand if she's an adult, if she's a child, and what happened. Okay. So, Christine and Michael Barnett adopted Natalia when she was supposed to be, I think, 7 years old. Where other people were having trouble with her through adoptions. So we don't really know how many families she was adopted to, but there were quite a few, all right? And it's come out where people think she was a con artist trying to just have people take care of her. She does have a form of dwarfism. And basically, essentially, she also says scoliosis. I think she said that too. Natalia Grace says she has dwarfism and scoliosis, okay? Let's see here. So I'm just making sure I give you the history of what has been said, okay? And then I will tell you what I got from Spirit, okay? I'm going to tell you unequivocally. Now, if you watch my other channel, I did a video on the submersive the other day, and they said it imploded. And literally the next day they proved that, okay? A lot of the things that I say are being proven on my other channel, so I encourage you guys to check that out and to understand that what I say here is also very relevant, okay? Because the reason I do these is to clear them out of the collective soul. We don't need the karma mucking up the vibration of the planet, okay? And so I hope to solve these. And the missing persons cases that I do are very important to me, Okay, they really are. I take them personally because I process their deaths when they die. I see these things, I process them. Okay, and so I encourage you to check out all the videos on this channel. So I truly believe in what I do, and that's why I've turned off the comments. I do not allow people to comment on these videos because judgment does not serve you. Okay, putting it in your pocket, sitting with it, and allowing things to unfold. You found me for a reason. Okay, so that's all I ask of you. Okay, I've had comments come at me that I'm just a psychic, I need to be quiet, I don't know what I'm talking about. Just all I ask is don't do that. Okay, nobody needs negativity. There's a reason I do what I do, and if you look at my other channels, things are proven to you that I know what I'm talking about. Okay, the submersive, I also mentioned when I did my last pyramid activations on my other channel that the Krakatoa was going to erupt, Hawaii was going to erupt, and literally they did in days. Okay, so if we can't deny those things, then that also spills over to these things. So I believe in what I say, and I believe in what I get. Okay, so they matter to me. That is why the comments are turned off. You can go to my other channel and comment there all you want, but I will warn you, be careful. Okay, all right. So here's the thing, there are different versions, right? There is a story where Christine and Michael Barnett abused Natalia. They say that she came and they discovered pubic hair. They were questioning her age, okay, because of her surgeries, because of supposedly she was on her cycle and things like that. Now, some of those really don't matter. I have a daughter, and she started developing at the age of 9. That's not a joke. She had already had her cycle by 11. Okay, so there are cases where you can develop early. So that alone does not state that Natalia was not a child. Okay, they're also claiming that Natalia tried to poison them. She would stand at their bed at the middle of the night and try to stab them, and all of those kinds of things have been depicted. So I'm going to, in the end, give you exactly what Spirit says about all of that. I also have a psychology degree. So there, you know, there is a little bit of that in there. There is a little bit of that comes out in there for why some of these things are occurring. Okay? And we will get to that. And I got chills. So basically, she came to them at a young age of 7, I think it was, and they were trying to say that, no, this child is not a child at all, and they're trying to basically get rid of her. According to Michael in one of the documentaries, Christine was very abusive towards her. She would hit her. It was said accidentally, right, that she was thrown down the stairs by the mother. Now, I am like what Dr. Phil said when she did that show. I am a firm believer that the truth always lies somewhere in the middle, right? It does. You have this story, you have that story, and then there's the truth. And it's usually a combination of both. Okay, and so there is a little bit of that here. But I will tell you what her age really is. Okay? I will tell you kind of what happened in that and why. And everybody's like, this doesn't make sense. There's no clear answer either way you go, right? They have produced DNA from the mother that says that is the mother, and if that was the mother, she couldn't have been this old. She couldn't have been 22 or 33 or however old they want to say to that. There are adoptive parents that said, no, there's no possible way she was an adult. Yet you'll have neighbors that, because what Christine and Michael eventually did was put her in an apartment of her own. They had her age legally changed, and then they put her into an apartment all their own, saying that she was trying to kill them, she was a danger, and they wanted to go to Canada to help their son with his, because he was very smart, okay? And so he was doing something with school. And so they literally put Natalia in an apartment of her own. Now, either at 8 years old or at 22. Okay? Now, there's some depictions here as how can an 8-year-old live on their own? How can all these things happen? I'm going to kind of give you insight into that today, to what happened, to what the true reality was, according to Spirit, according to my guides, and I believe unequivocally who I am and what I get, okay? And if you don't, that's okay. I'm just asking you to check into who I am and what I do and why I do what I do, okay? What I get, put it in your pocket. That's it. Do the research. Let's just start there, okay? So, just imagine for a second. Let's go with, she is a con artist, okay? She is a con artist, and she gets this family with money, And eventually she pushes and pushes enough that they get her own apartment. They're paying the bills, they're providing food. If she was a con artist, that would be like the perfect place to be, right? You would think the story would have ended there and she would have been happy as hell. She was going to school, which is really, really strange. How is a child like this going to school? I want to ask Spirit that. So I'm channeling why she was actually able to go to school, because it was not an elementary school or anything like that. I'm just writing down what I'm getting. Okay, they're also saying she has problems with her thyroid. I'm writing that down right now. And that kind of plays into some things. Okay. So I just channeled about that because I didn't ask that specifically. Like how, if she was a child, how did she get into this? I think it was like a high school or something. Some kind of school that they put her in that was not a school for children. Okay. And then we'll talk a little bit about Christine and Michael Barnett. Because if you watch that video, I was like, ooh, wow, that was strange. Like, it's really hard to believe either side. You know what I mean? Because Natalia will give different answers for everything, and then Michael and Christine give different answers for everything, and Michael himself acts like he's just oblivious and a victim, right? He completely acts like a victim, and Spirit says he is not, okay? He is not blind, and he is not a victim. That's the first thing I will tell you Spirit is saying, okay? So they're depicting this because they could have gotten a lot of trouble. If you adopted a child and they were trying to find ways out of it, it seemed like they really were. And maybe Natalia had issues. Maybe she was a little scary. Maybe she did act out a little bit and she had no remorse showing. That's a possibility, right? I'm not giving you what Spirit's given me quite yet. But it's like, would you literally take a child and put her in her own apartment? Could you do that with a clear consciousness? Did they really believe she was an adult? No. Spirit is saying no, they did not. No. Christine and Michael Barnett did not believe in their heart of hearts she was an adult. Okay? That is the first thing I will tell you Spirit is saying. Christine and Michael Barnett in their hearts did not believe she was an adult. Some of their stories were fabricated. Okay? That's what Spirit is saying. I'm not going off of the details of the case. I'm telling you right now what Spirit is saying. Christine and Michael Barnett did not believe truthfully that she was an adult. Some of what they're saying is fabricated. Most of what they're saying is fabricated. Not all. So here's the problem is there is truth on both sides and then there is lies on both sides. Why would that happen? Well, imagine for a moment you are a child growing up in an orphanage, okay? And apparently they taught her English from day one because they figured that that would help her get adopted quicker. That's what they're saying right now because I never had that answer before. Like, why didn't she have an accent? She was taught English from the beginning. Being a child and all of a sudden you have all of these families. You have no attachment to a mother. There is no emotional growth, first of all. She did not have emotional development. And I just got chills when I said that. That's validations, okay? Because I didn't write that down anywhere. That's just channeled in real time for you guys as I'm talking about it. Spirit's like downloading a little bit. She did not have, and also psychologically speaking, you can see that. She did not have emotional development, okay? Not from day one. There was no bonding emotionally to a mother figure or a father figure. She was very taught to mimic her environment. Now, depending upon which environment she had, she would learn to mimic the environment, okay? Now, they had stories where she was put into a mental institution when she supposedly tried to knock Christine into a barbed wire fence or something, an electric fence. And they had mentioned that she was all over the male patients, and she acted like an adult, and she dressed like an adult. She wasn't taught to be a child, you guys. She was not taught to be a child at all. She was taught to be many other things that didn't make sense. And can children have hormones? Yes, they can. Okay? If you look at psychologically speaking, they say the ID, right? Was it, oh my gosh, I haven't been in psychology for a minute. There were, you could, psychologically speaking, they would talk about how we are sexual from a very young age. Okay? And, it was thought that Sigmund Freud, somebody like that, your ID is very attached to that. Okay, so we attribute from a very young age sexual things. All right, and so you can kind of see these little cursors in this. Okay, that is absolutely possible at a young age. You don't have to be an adult to do that. Okay, we mimic behaviors, especially when you aren't developed emotionally enough to develop your own personality. What I would call ODD, operational defiant disorder, and she also is what I would probably call personality disorder. Okay, that's the best way you can put it. She hasn't developed her own personality. She mimics the personalities around her. Okay, and so psychologically speaking, I'm not her therapist. I'm not trying to diagnose her, but I am telling you that those are relevant. Okay, and now I'm going to give you what Spirit gave me. She turns 20 this year. Natalia Grace turns 20 this year. She was born in 2003. It was a traumatic birth. She did not get love right away. She didn't get that bond. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And so right away, she already didn't get nurturement. She didn't get a bond. She was already being detached from emotional development from day one. She was only a child, emotionally stunted. Okay? When you are emotionally stunted is when you develop those titles that they will give you. Okay? Operational defiant disorder, personality disorder. They are definitely saying ODD. Okay? Here's the thing. Why the Barnetts adopted her, I don't know. That is the one thing it's just not clear. I feel like it was for, it's not clear. They're saying it was personal, it was not about love, okay? First of all. I feel like maybe they felt like they were obligated at some point. I'm not exactly sure. My mouth is dry. I'm going to take a quick drink. Natalia Grace. I'm not even going to call her Barnett. I don't think I should. I really think that's painful. Natalia Grace turns 20 this year. Okay? She was a child. So can we really attribute, she's just going to hurt you. She's just going to kill you. She's going to poison you. She's a child who had no emotional development. She learns from her environment. Okay? She lacks the capacity to have fear. She lacks the capacity, this is what Spirit's telling me right now. She lacks the capacity to have a lot of fight or flight reactions, like most of us were, or would. Her neurological system is not fully functioning. Okay, that's what they're saying. Like I said, her thyroid issues and hormone issues, and these are attributed to that. Okay, she was not on her period. That's the first thing they're saying. She was not cycling. I honestly think that Christine and Michael Barnett adopted her for a personal reason. Personal gain of some sort, and then realized, Christine particularly, that she just wanted out. It was more like a nuisance. Okay? It was going to be expensive to take care of her. It was going to take time out of their family from their sons. And she did have behaviors. So according to them, she was defecating on things, not in the potty, right? And she had her sons teach her a lesson by peeing on her bed. So you see what I'm saying? That's not, Natalia wouldn't learn that way anyways, because she has all of these emotional stunting that, let's say, if I go pee on your bed and then you pee on mine, I might learn that lesson of, ooh, now I'm suffering. I'm not going to do that. Like if a dog bites you, some believe bite the dog back. That's kind of silliness, right? But I'm just giving an example. Some might learn from that. Natalia could not. Okay, she cannot learn that way. She does pick up from her environment. So what they said while I was channeling is she does have a high IQ. Okay? I asked how she got into the schooling, okay, because she was only 20 years old. So that means when they put her in an apartment by herself, she was actually 9, closer to 9, I think, 8, 9 years old. And if you listen to the story, she wasn't bathing herself. And she'll admit that she wasn't really taught to take care of herself. She didn't really cook. She would microwave stuff, and my kids knew how to do that, right? But what that truly speaks of is if Christine really told her, say you're 22, say these things, she would. This is how an emotionally stunted person would react, okay? It's almost like a sociopathic behavior. There's like no emotions attached to things, and so they can do things just through that. Yet she has a high IQ, so I can pick up languages, I can pick up how I should act, and I could do that. So can I manipulate? Yeah. She learned to. It's like learning to manipulate your environment for gain, right? Especially if you're abused. Especially if you lacked emotional development. You're going to learn to do that, okay? The father himself is emotionally unstable. This is Michael Barnett, okay? He's emotionally unstable. He chose to partake. That is what Spirit is telling me. He chose to partake. If you listen to his documentary, he says, I was oblivious. I would go to work and I would come home and he would blame it on like a victim. I'm a victim. I couldn't see clearly because of Christine's abuse and things like that. But he was not as removed as you would think. And that is what Spirit is saying. I do not see sexual abuse from him towards her. Okay, so I will throw that out now. However, I would say Christine did abuse her. Okay, so now what they're showing me about the mother is that mother was having affairs, several affairs throughout their marriage. Okay, but in particularly too at this time she was having an affair. Okay, and so Natalia became a nuisance. It just became a nuisance. It became a wrench in her existence. So let's see what else they want me to say about the case, right? So again, there is some truth to both sides. Did Natalia possibly do things that were a little scary? Yeah, probably. If you were in a place where you couldn't relate, you couldn't feel comfortable, you could never feel like you had a home, you were never emotionally developing, could you do things like grab a knife maybe out of anger or just, these... She didn't have fear. And so that's kind of how they depicted her. She would just stand there doing weird things. She stood at the foot of their bed, I guess, one night with a knife is what they said. Or she wanted to wait until they were asleep to kill them. Those were exaggerated. And that's what they're saying. They were exaggerated. Did she do weird things? Yes. All right. Natalia would try to manipulate her environment for gain because that's the only thing she knew. It's the only thing she knew how to do. And she also learned to be quiet when she needed to be quiet. She would learn to mimic what she was told to mimic from day one. Okay, in that orphanage. All right. Now, how they got her in school, I channeled that as I was on with you, and they said they falsified documents. She does have a high IQ with a personality disorder. So it almost makes it convincing. However, I don't think she was doing good in it. I think she was having a hard time, but she was learning as she was going. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? It was also a social thing for her, which she really enjoyed. She was craving that. Okay? And I guess she's with a new family now where she's doing great because she gets a lot of that. She is still childlike in many ways. She is hyper developed and underdeveloped at the same time. And that's what Spirit is saying. She has thyroid issues and hormone issues, which altogether create this case is what you got. Okay, that's why Natalia has a hard time speaking the truth. Does she know right from wrong? Yes. Can she actively function it? Probably not. Okay, because she doesn't have the skills. She doesn't have emotional development. She's emotionally stunted, which means where you and I might get butthurt about something, she'll just stand there with this stone cold face. Like, they are saying though now within the last few years she's been developing those. Okay, so that's what Spirit is saying. She has been developing those. She's learning how. And so maybe a little bit of truth on both sides there. Okay. Is Natalia a little bit, could she be scary at times? I mean, she's a little person, right? I mean, in truth, how much damage could she do? But at the same time, this poor little girl, like, I can't even imagine what this little girl has gone through. And to top it off, she's a little person. And so just to be in this world alone is a challenge for her. She has to overcome things that you and I do not. And I'm short. I'm only 5'3". Like, I can't imagine being as short as her. I have a hard time reaching things in a normal home. You know, so putting a knife on top of her fridge, I think was one of their stories. Come on. How would she even get up there? Right? Did she maybe spray the counter with Lysol and it got in a coffee and she's just like dead-faced, like no emotion? Now, you see what I'm saying? So Christine would take any moment she could. She was looking for any way to say this child is not normal. And Natalia wasn't. She needed people who understood her emotional lack of developments. Okay? Which even still, these people that she's with now are still not quite educated in that, but she's had love. And that love can make the world go round, especially when you've never had it. Okay? So the Barnetts themselves had a lot of issues. All right, I will tell you that right now. Christine is an abusive person, but Michael was not. He was not blind like he claims. He was not a pure victim. He was weak. He was an easy pushover. She did manipulate him. Okay, how can you manipulate somebody who's healed on their own? Right? You know what I mean? So you see what I'm saying? So they were both a mess. They were both a mess. Do I believe Christine abused her? Yes. Is it somewhat exaggerated a little bit in... No, they're actually saying none of that actually fully came out, like when they went to court and stuff. So she abused her pretty badly. But in a very careful manner. So it's like, I'm going to abuse you, but I'm not going to leave too many marks. Okay? They didn't want to get in trouble, which is why they had her documents falsified. They claim they were told that by a police officer. If you convince somebody that this child is something, they're going to tell you to do the same. And it can be commonplace in some of those orphanages to do that. But according to Spirit, she turns 20 this year. Which makes sense, right? Because she was born in 2003. Yeah, because my oldest is 21. He was 2002. So, this is what I have gotten on Natalia Grace. Okay, she is still a child. She's only 20 years old. She's finally learning to develop. Okay, she was a child that whole time. Can you imagine growing up in a world like that and people treating you like that, and you have no idea? You just learn to make things work in the environment for which you know how, and that's it. And when she was living alone, she was constantly seeking others because she was a child, and they just would go off of strange things because her IQ is also high. So if she had a stable home to start out in, I can only imagine where this girl could have gone. And she could still possibly go. She's not innocent. That's what the Spirit is saying. Natalia herself is not 100% innocent. Okay? She has ODD, Operational Defiant Disorder. So if I don't like you and you tell me not to do something, I'm going to go do it. That's kind of how she played out some of those things, okay? So would she probably defecate in places she wasn't supposed to as a child? I would put money on it, okay? But Christine and Michael Barnett, Christine was very abusive. She was having several affairs. There was some fear in there from Michael on his part, but he is emotionally unstable. That is what Spirit is saying about him, and he did choose to partake. Okay, so even though in some of those documentaries he's like, I can see clearly now, but I couldn't see then. He literally made conscious choices to either ignore it, partake in some way. And there was kind of this theme of trying to blame Christine, right? But that's not entirely true. I would say they both had issues. The mother was having an affair, like I said, and so she was looking for ways to manipulate a situation and get rid of this child. I'm going to see if there's anything else they want me to talk about. This is what I've gotten, so I've learned to not question it. I still have a how in the hell did they get this child into school? Well, if I produce a document that says I'm 22, and I also falsify other documents saying that I've passed tests and things like that, there might be a way where they do like a placement test. But remember, this girl had an high IQ. So if I can give you certain answers that you want, if I can look in my environment, if I've been coached, I'm going to have all that. Okay? She's not dumb. And I don't like to use the word dumb, but she's a very smart individual. So smart that she learned to mimic, very much so, what was happening in her environment. And that is why you'll get different stories from her. Okay? Because she was searching. If you never attach to somebody and your caretakers constantly say this, you're gonna repeat it. Okay? You're not gonna know that this is wrong. You're not gonna be like, hey, screaming for help. Because this is all you know. This is what you know. This is how you get around in your environment. Okay? So she's still somewhat detached emotionally. And she doesn't know how to process emotions. Okay? Does she act out like that now? I don't know. You know, she probably does manipulate her environment a little bit. She probably does mimic her environment still to this day somewhat. Okay? So I want to hear this one. Really quick, I'm just going to listen to this because I didn't see it till just now. Natalia Grace speaks out in a new special about adopted orphan scandal. Watch a preview. So I just want to watch this preview and see what it says. And then we will end this video. Okay, I want to see what this says about it. That's what Spirit's having me do, so that's what I'm going to do. And right now they're playing a commercial, so I will unmute after this ad and get this preview of what Natalia herself has to say about this. This is new. Why I don't think this was included in the documentary that I saw. Natalia was interviewed by psychologists at some point. Wait. Click to unmute.
Hear everything that's frustrating to...
There.
It's very frustrating to hear everything that's being said
She looks like
Christina
an adult
Michael.
now. But she didn't then.
And because I already don't know who I am, and I want to know who I am, what happened to me. But I'm hearing all this stuff that never actually happened from Christina Michael. And I'm just like, it's shocking and it's frustrating because that's not true. And people are believing what Christina Michael are saying without even hearing my side. This is my side of the story. And I'm gonna say what happened because I never got a chance to say what happened. Y'all have heard Christina Michael and what they have said. But you need to hear both sides in order to know what really happened.
So that was a preview. I think it's on ID. I'm going to have to watch that when it comes out, especially after what Spirit just gave me. That validates everything I just said in my opinion. And I didn't even know that was there. I just found that. So this is what I have on the curious case of Natalia Grace. I will leave out the word Barnett because I don't believe in what those people did to her. I feel like this poor child didn't have a stance from day one, and I'm glad she actually is where she is now. I feel like she has more of a chance now than she's ever had. Is she innocent? No, she has a long way of recovery. She has to heal. She has to learn. She has to grow. And remember how she said she didn't even know who she was? That falls into, personality disorders and ODD and all those other titles that they will put on this stuff. And what it truly is lack of love, lack of development, a lack of emotional stability. How would you feel if you never felt safe and you couldn't understand what was going on around you? You couldn't think clearly at the time. Remember, her IQ is high, but according to Spirit, she's underdeveloped and hyper-developed in some areas, okay? So maybe I can talk to you like I'm 22, but really I don't know what's going on inside. I'm mimicking, okay? She has thyroid issues, what played into that, as well as emotional detachment and failure to thrive at some point. So at first she had failure to thrive, is what they're saying. She didn't get to attach emotionally, okay? This little girl actually had a hard time. And like she said, everybody's just quick to believe the Barnetts. Why, I don't know. They got away with it in court. Before I finish, I'm like, how did they get away with it in court? Because both of them were acquitted and found not guilty. And it is because they had money. But I do truly believe that some of their lawyers were in cahoots with the judge. The one who approved the name change. You can hear the story talking about the doctor who was like, no, this is still a child. And they're like, well, don't mention that in court. And he's like, so you don't want me to speak the truth? So there was a lot of that going on in this case. Okay? Our judicial system is dirty, dirty, dirty. And it depends on who you know, who you blow, or how much money you have. And I'm sorry if that's insulting, but it's the truth. Okay. I also did a case on Casey Anthony, and that's what that made me think about. Who you know, who you blow, and how much money you have. So if I didn't upload that one on here, I'm going to do it soon. I did one on Casey Anthony, and I want you guys to watch that one too, because it reminds me of that one in her court case. Okay? So much love to all of you. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for paying attention. And before you judge, get proof on who I am is all I ask, or put it in your pocket and wait till things come to surface, because generally when I do something, they usually do eventually. Okay, if they can at all. All right? Till next time, hasta la vista. Have a good day. Like and subscribe, and join me next time. Bye-bye.